Gaddafi seemed to control large swathes of the western part of the country. The eastern part seems to be out of the leader's reach, despite his attempts to regain control. On Thursday, Gaddafi's forces launched fresh airstrikes on the strategic oil town of Brega, which is held by Gaddafi's opponents. Meanwhile, funerals have been held for the opposition fighters killed in Wednesday's battle. 14 were killed on Wednesday when 2 warplanes dropped bombs on Brega's oil terminal. Anti-government rebels now say that they've cleared Brega of government forces. Hoda Abdulhamid is in the nearby city of Benghazi, also in the hands of the opposition. A short while ago, she gave us this update.
There is a hope that the International Criminal Court will go quickly in its investigation and come out with a direct indictment as soon as possible. People would like the International Court to look into a series of what they call massacres of the Libyan people during the entire era of Muammar Gaddafi, not only into what happened since the uprising began on February 15th. Certainly there is tension in the air. People are wondering what is the next step of the government. The fact that government forces have been clashing with the opposition only 200 kilometers away from Brega has risen the tensions here in Benghazi. A lot of volunteers are preparing themselves. Some have already taken the road to try to go and reach the fighting. There is certainly a feeling that at this stage, this part of the country, the east, must help the rest of the country to be liberated.
Well, as you heard, Muammar Gaddafi could face prosecution for war crimes by the International Criminal Court. The ICC's prosecutor at The Hague says that an investigation into deadly attacks on civilians could see other powerful politicians being indicted.
We identify some individuals with de facto or formal authority who have authority on the security forces who allegedly committed the crimes. They are Muammar al-Gaddafi, his inner circle, including some of his sons, who had de facto authority. But also, there are people with some formal authority that should pay attention to the crimes committed by their people.
Government officials from the Netherlands are, quote, in intensive diplomatic negotiations with Libya as they try to win the release of 3 Dutch Marines. The men were captured on Sunday by forces loyal to Muammar Gaddafi after they landed in the coastal city of Sirte. Dutch officials say that the Marines were trying to rescue 2 Europeans who've since been handed over to the Dutch embassy in Tripoli. Libya's embassy in The Hague remains under watch by police while the government negotiates the Marines' freedom. The International Organization for Migration says that some 200,000 migrant workers have now fled Libya into Egypt, Tunisia and Niger. And in the past hour, US President Barack Obama has pledged help for those still trying to leave.
Tens of thousands of people from many different countries are fleeing Libya. And we commend the governments of Tunisia and Egypt for their response, even as they go through their own political transitions. I have therefore approved the use of U.S. military aircraft to help move Egyptians who have fled to the Tunisian border to get back home to Egypt. I've authorized USAID to charter additional civilian aircraft to help people from other countries find their way home. And we're supporting the efforts of international organizations to evacuate people as well.
But concern continues to grow for many foreigners still stuck inside the country. The United Nations says that unless more is done, they'll be left stranded and in danger. AlJazeera's James Bays reports.
Arriving in Tunisia, the flow of people fleeing Gaddafi's Libya continues.
Sit down, please. Sit down, sit down, sit down.
More than 95,000 in 10 days. Egyptians, Bangladeshis, Vietnamese and Chinese. However, one UN agency says it's concerned about the nationalities that aren't coming across.
The fact of the matter is that today we're not seeing West Africans, we're not seeing Sub-Saharan Africans coming out of the borders. The information that we are getting from inside Libya is that most of those nationals are terrified. They're living at home, they're hiding, their fear of being victims of xenophobic violence. We're getting emails of people who say they're running out of water, they're running out of food, they're running out of medicine.
Among the thousands of people who've left Libya, we found one group from Ghana. We were told Africans are being forced to fight by Gaddafi's loyalists.
I've even set my eye on some of my brothers in AlJazeera. They will catch all of the blacks people and they will give you a gun. And they will be at the back and they are saying that we should go forward and fight, whilst we don't even know how to fight.
They were beating us, harassing us, they killed some of them. Plenty of people, they killed some of them in Zaria, Sirte and Benghazi, some of them.
So was it quite terrifying when you came on this long journey to the border?
On the road, we have about 100 barriers on the road. But the soldiers on the road, all of them, they are thieves.
While conditions here at the border continue to ease, the area of most concern now is those that haven't made it this far. People who, because of the colour of their skin, are in hiding, fearful of both the government and opposition supporters inside Libya. James Bayes, Al Jazeera, on the Tunisian-Libyan border.
Well, the plight of foreigners trapped in Libya is also a concern for the UN Refugee Agency. Sibella Wilkes in Geneva spoke to us about the aid efforts on the Tunisian border.
We've already established a camp with a capacity for 10,000 people. We're bringing in more tents. In the next 24 to 48 hours, we hope that the capacity of that camp will double. But it is a huge challenge. It's very cold at night, but we are hearing that particularly the water and sanitation situation is very critical. So it is imperative that people are helped to get home as quickly as possible. We're in touch with literally hundreds of refugees who say they're feeling absolutely trapped in Libya. They say that they're feeling hunted, they're feeling targeted. But from what the refugees have been telling us, they're saying that all Africans from sub-Saharan Africa are very much at risk at the moment. There's huge suspicion that they're involved as being mercenaries with the Gaddafi and pro-government forces. So this is obviously putting a target on them. They say that they're extremely frightened even to go out onto the streets to find help, to find food. We've heard a number of accounts of refugees being attacked. We've heard a number of accounts indeed of refugees who've been killed.
All right, so we've heard from Libya's eastern and western borders. Now let's go to the capital. Many migrant workers are scrambling to flee Tripoli, but the official picture being painted from there is one of calm and of life returning to normal. Al Jazeera's Anita McNaught is in Tripoli and has been allowed limited access by the Libyan government to film this report.
Libyan authorities, keen to demonstrate that Tripoli is not a war zone, invited our Al Jazeera crew onto a helicopter usually reserved for tracking illegal migrants from Africa. Declaring no areas in Tripoli off limits for this flight, our government escort showed us the former People's Assembly building, burnt over a week ago in an early morning riot that has, so far, not been repeated. Across the city on the day we flew, no street